All right, I will
in advance for coughing, if I can say that.
Oh.
I don't have COVID. I had it in December. I'm getting over bronchitis. Oh, sorry. I'll keep my mask on though.
I will call the meeting to order. Its agenda, date, time, and location were properly announced. We will start off tonight with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 15th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Rini, is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, any questions or discussion, corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the amount of $725,625.23 for the month of February?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
I'll second.
Matt, any questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the cash summary.
I didn't have any questions, but I do want to just kind of highlight one of the unfortunate, just one of the things that are going to hit our budget as you look at athletic admissions. Of course, because we're not charging parents this year, and we're down to just 2 per event. That will be something that will be, below what we had budgeted for this year. We have other ways that we'll be making it up, but as I seen that on here, that'll be one of the things that, as we finalize the last couple months here of the budget, that'll be a gap that we'll have to fill up. So other than that, I didn't have any other questions forwarded to me.
Okay. All right, donations.
Yes, a big thank you to Schwartz Septic for donating an Iron Mike pitching system and setting it up and delivering for Coach Donahue and the baseball team, valued at $3,500. So that's a pretty nice donation, and we're very, very thankful for that. So thank you to everyone that had a part in that.
Great, yes, thank you.
Was that primarily driven by Howie Mitchell, I would assume?
That would be yes. Mostly.
Am I allowed to say that? Or?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I was going to say it because I wasn't sure who else was in there, but I know Howie had a big stake in it. So yeah.
I just know he's the proprietor of that company.
Yep.
So
And has done a lot of really nice things with helping just keep the baseball diamond looking great and everything else. So yes.
good for him. Thank you to him.
Yep.
Where is she? Okay. All right, do we have comments from the public? Did you receive anything, Kim?
I did not.
Okay. Alrighty, and building reports.
Okay, building reports. I'm going to turn you guys up here. And who's starting with the strong classrooms? Go ahead, Sandy.
All right, I just wanted to remind the board that our grade level PLCs, what we refer to as horizontal PLCs, meet regularly, and through the work that we're doing to strengthen our PLC work, I just wanted to give you an update on the information that's being shared at these meetings. Susan, please feel free to chime in if anything's different at the middle school. The meetings, you focus on students, specific students that were in need of intervention, but now what we're talking about are the power standards that are currently being worked on, in particularly in ELA and math. And then what we do is we work from there to determine how many of the students are proficient at that standard, what's being done to help those students that aren't, what's being done to help those students that already are, and what resources are we using. And we're brainstorming during these meetings and really focusing in on our power standards. So I just wanted to give you an update on how things run, and very proud of the teachers for what's going on in those meetings. The next bullet there is read across random. Dr. Seuss's birthday was March 2nd, and that has traditionally become Read Across America Week. We were a little busy that week, so we decided that we were gonna put it off, and we're doing it this week. Hats off to Jamie Utek, our reading specialist. One of the tasks that she gave out today was a virtual escape room for the kids to do. And when they solved their escape room, each student received a new book. In the past, we had done a book exchange, but we felt that this year, probably a new book would be best rather than trading books from other people's houses. So maybe we'll go back to that next year. Susan, you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, so this time of year, we embark on our assessment marathon, starting with, I see Julie kind of laughing. So starting with next week will be our ACT day, where we'll have all of the juniors in school, and so they will be spending, it's about 6 hours, I believe up to 6 hours, where they'll be taking the ACT. And then we also have Aspire that our freshmen and sophomores will be taking, and then that will be in April, as well as our Wisconsin Forward. So in next week as well, our sophomores will be taking the Forward on Thursday, and then in April, 3rd grade through 8th grade will be taking the Wisconsin Forward. Our 4th and 8th grade take all 4 tests. So it's reading, language arts, science and social studies, and math. I'm sorry, or not social studies, science and math.
Math, ELA.
And then, yep. And then the other grades is just the reading, the language arts, and the math. So we really are working as teams from elementary up to high school, getting our proctors and our teachers and our students prepared to take these exams. Julie and Travis have given practice exam day. They did that on one of the AR Fridays where we had all of the juniors in, and they participated in practice exam for the ACT. And then Julie and Travis as well have been working with our teaching staff on training them as proctors to bring forth the best testing situation that we can for the students. And then Travis, along with Sandy, have been working with our counselors at the middle and elementary to get our teachers and our students prepared for the Forward that'll be coming up in April.
And one more testing note, I didn't have it as part of the bullet, but we were able to access test all of our EL students that required the test this year, and we have 100% test completion in person, so that was awesome. Through strong culture, elementary decided to celebrate our return to full weeks, and we did field trips on our first Friday back. Not a lot of our students have gone on field trips this year. The weather was so wonderful. My initial plan was to go out and have some activities in our snow, but the weather being so wonderful didn't allow for that. So with the help of Rachel in our transportation coordinator position and some pretty fast putting of things together by Holly, we were able to have some field trips on the 5th of March, which really was a welcome time for the kids. I'm sure they came home very tired that day. We are going to do one more celebration on the 26th of March. Anna Van Newland and Lisa Maslick are going to head up some activities that our kids are going to do, because we are in Music in Our Schools Month and Youth Art Month. So we will be doing some activities as small groups where the students are going to celebrate both music and art. Strong community connections. We were very fortunate to have Generations Family Dentist come visit several classes. They were in our innovation lab and we were able to bring classes to them. And it was a very interesting initial conversation because it was, do you want us to be virtual or are you allowing people to come in? And we decided that we could do it while socially distancing. So we let them set it up and we brought the kids to them in our innovation lab. So we had several grade levels that were able to spend time with the dentist and staff from Generations. So thank you very much to them for reaching out to us.
Next, we have LTC Acceptance Letters. So this year, Julie and I worked with LTC. We embarked on a really, I think, a great opportunity for our seniors and a strong partnership that we have with LTC. And so what they really were working on doing this year is that saying, you know what, every senior, regardless of their standing and class rank or their grades, as long as they've met their graduation requirements, they are accepted into LTC, which really I think is such a game changer for some students who may have thought, you know what, secondary schooling is out of my plan to be financial, or maybe they're thinking their grades weren't up to par. This really opens that door and breaks down that barrier that, you know what, you are accepted coming into LTC, even if it's just to take some prerequisite classes to where you want to go next, or to just get more solid in some other skills with the career that you're going to go into. So a real opportunity with this partnership with LTC, and it's something new that they were trying this year, and they asked us, and Julie and I met with them and jumped right on board with it. So really a nice opportunity. So they came out last week, Monday, and met with every single one of our seniors to give them their acceptance letters, that to let them know that whatever their plans are, that they have a spot at LTC if they so chose to want to take them up on that. So really a nice piece there. And then lastly, I want to end, I know, really a great opportunity. Lastly, I want to end with a student acknowledgement. Talon Wilterdane. He placed third in Wisconsin this fall in PowerPoint MOS certification exam. So what this means is that his score in time were in the top 3 of all the students that took that exam. And this is only the second time in 2 years that we had a student place in the top 3. So well done to Talon and Steve Wills with the great job that he does with the kids in that area.
Thanks. Lots of good stuff there. Does anyone have any questions?
Just a question about the LTC acceptance. Did you say, was that only exclusive to Random Lake District, or was that to other districts in the area?
Julie, you want to add to that? I know you had a lot to do with it, so if you wouldn't mind, I know you may not were expecting this, but I'd love for you to share your perspective on that too.
I am very excited about this opportunity for our students to be admitted to LTC. We were the pilot district for that. There are no other districts at this time that have accepted a full senior class to their school, and I know that there's been several seniors already who have spoken with me about how to find summer courses, because they are hoping to expedite their college transition by getting a more affordable few classes in before starting in the fall.
Great, thank you. Strong marketing.
And I had one of our staff members said that they had a parent that was down in Florida and seen on their Google, the Google News. So there's been a lot of really nice traction on this, and wouldn't have happened without Julie and Susan. So it's great. It's a great message to our kids, and being part of it. The best thing about that whole communication was, we don't know where your path is going to take you, but if this can help, use it. If you're going to go right in the workforce, that's great. If you're going to go into 4-year, that's great. But you know what? There's one path that we have here for you, and because you're in Random Lake, we're able to give it to you. So pretty cool moment for everybody. Very cool.
So exciting to watch those videos.
That's great. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Board committee report, policy committee met tonight.
We did. I would like to make a recommendation for approval on the policy manual.
And
We didn't go through all of it. We went through part of it.
And that'll be later on the agenda, is that?
Yep.
Yes, it's. Oh wait, I see it. Okay, great. Then if everybody's okay, we'll go out of order. And we'll skip to number 14, which will be Ms. Hausner for the early college credit Start College Now request for the fall of 2021.
So we've had numerous applications again submitted. They are always due in the counseling office by the March 1st deadline. For Start College Now through the Wisconsin Technical College System, we have a couple of applications for medical terminology again, and we have one student finishing her patient services specialist certification with a package of classes called Culture of Healthcare and Digital Literacy for Healthcare. And then for our early college credit programming, we have a few applications for Concordia University and a few for Milwaukee School of Engineering. Students asking to take Calculus 2 because they've maxed out of their math opportunities at our school, a Computer Science 1 application, and then a few possibilities depending upon how they fit into a student's schedule with genetics or cell biology or microbiology, and then a couple of intro to actuarial sciences applications.
Nice. And this is just informational. We do not vote on
No.
these, or
Kind of just how this connects to the last when we were talking about the LTC acceptance. Going into classrooms, and this is again the work of the high school, the integration of our teachers, bringing in different college classes into earning dual credits. When we asked students, it was easy for LTC because about 80%, just anecdotally as I was walking in classrooms, 80% of our students are already leaving. They're in college right now because they're taking college classes. So, that we have students doing this, and if you remember a few years ago, we used to have our students come and be able to share why they wanted to do that. We were told maybe we shouldn't do that, and this is what it's morphed to.
okay.
But no, it's great to see that tradition, just more and more students, and the goal is, sometime in the near future, every student leaves at least trying one class and seeing, how does that work. So thank you for this. It's great for all of our kids.
That's great. Any questions for Julie? All right. Then we will go to the COVID and reentry update.
Okay. Couple things and a couple questions on how we want to move forward. So you did see in your packet a calendar of events. I know some of our parents were very curious on how we were going to finish out the end of the year. So in your packet, there were each of the spring events, who was going to be invited. One of the things when Susan was putting this together, a lot of these restrictions are based on where we are right now. And would we like to see this maybe opened up a little bit? Yes, but as Gina and I talked about, it's easier to keep it here, and then let's see what happens next month. This will be an agenda item every month until we get to July, and hopefully there will be a time where we don't even have to talk about this anymore, but I'm not going to get ahead of it. So any questions on the packet that was presented there with the calendar?
So those like state or county restrictions that we're abiding by for this?
I would say those are under our current conference rules, indoor rules, yes. So I don't want to say for sure it's under, I think it's pretty much under the state that we are right now, unless you have one that you have an individual question about.
No, I'm just asking
Okay.
what type of restrictions there were, if there were restrictions, county restrictions, state restrictions.
We, a lot of the indoor ones, we're following the same things that we did for our sports, our indoor sports. And as they're outside, like you'll see prom, we push to outside, so that way, once it's outside, there's different restrictions outside than there is inside. So I think Susan and her team have done a wonderful job of working with the students and sharing, hey, here's how we can do this, here's how we can do this, trying to make sure that we have the best experience possible as we go through the last 2 months here.
Does every school get to do their own, whatever they plan?
Yeah, everybody has their plan. And, part of this, the next question was for this group, how do we want to start looking at doing board meetings? Do we want to, continue with this for another month? Do we want to start looking at going back to normal and having in-person? Those are some of the things that we can start talking about. I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but as we look at the vaccination, especially for school personnel, I checked this morning, I think everyone that wants a vaccine is now scheduled for at least their first shot. So by the time we get back here for our next board meeting, everyone in the school district of Random Lake, adults that want a shot, will have it. So once we get to that, the next will be, once the greater community adults have access that want them, get them. And then, some are saying summer or by fall, students and children that want them and have them. So that's kind of the rollout as we're going forward. And every month we can see who's been vaccinated, what does that mean for our different events.
So I don't have any students that would get a scholarship or anything, but just devil's advocate here, like it says virtual event for kids that worked really hard for a scholarship. Why couldn't, and this is just me wondering, why couldn't you have it in the auditorium with people spaced out just to give them acknowledgement for all the hard work they put in to get a scholarship? Because it's an indoor event and you have to follow everything as it was several months ago.
And I think every one of these activities, you could ask, why are we doing this? Why, it's trying to find that happy dance in between just the individuals that have to run these meetings and do this. If you have something that's indoors, now there's other protocols that you need to also consider. So it's the month of May is, I've always said, is pretty much, dedicated to our seniors, trying to make sure that we have the ones in person that mean the most is really what I got out of this.
Last year, if it's helpful, what they did was they broke down the list of the seniors that were getting scholarships, and each of the teachers took a handful of students, and then each of them presented, and they put up their senior picture, they put up on the stream what school they were attending, what they planned to focus on, and then they presented their scholarship. So the seniors were given a link and were able to live watch the stream, and then it was put up the next day for just the general public. So it was their event initially, and then it was shared later.
And in the past, there's a lot of community involvement, and that's another reason it makes it more difficult to bring community members in.
So it's a large event.
It's a little larger event. If
Because
you've ever
you
been at
usually
Five
have your
Pillars,
presenters.
you have
You
presenters.
have your
If
scholarship
we're,
presenters.
Five Pillars would be pretty full
Yeah.
when we were there doing it.
Oh,
So, it's
Right.
yeah.
I don't know if
I
it's
just-
100 people, but it's probably 100 people.
It seemed
Oh, I'd say at
Yeah,
least
One
that.
I've gone to, it's a nice crowd.
But there is
Pretty
some
small.
loosening of restrictions
Well,
essentially.
even looking at state wrestling, we were all one section of the bleachers, and there's several hundred people, there. So I don't know. That's why I don't get it. As far as are restrictions, county restrictions, state restrictions? Because I would say I disagree with quite a few of these, and I don't think there's a lot of consistency amongst the different type of events that we hold or we don't hold. And I think our seniors are getting short in the straw in a lot of these.
It would be nice to see some middle ground, especially for scholarship night, because last year the video was wonderful considering what was going on, but it was so sad. How many people just fast forward to find what they got, and did they really see what their classmates were able to achieve as well as a whole? I've been to how many of those with all of my kids, and we were grateful for it, but it was kind of a blow. It felt like another loss too, because you didn't get to celebrate together. I didn't get to see the kids' faces when they knew what they got. I've watched these kids grow up all these years, and of course I was excited for them and reaching out another way, but I just think we are in a place where, why can't we do that? At least, even if it's just the students and the parents watch it virtually, I don't know, but is there some way to allow that? Because you're right, the seniors this year have had, I think it's, in a way, it's worse than last year's seniors, because they had 3/4 of a year. And our seniors this year have had so many losses. What else, what could we give them back?
Was
So-
Mrs. Hauser still on?
Is it too late to change this? What I'm hearing is a consensus here is that we all want to see these seniors get some kind of an in-person recognition. Is it too late that we couldn't come to a compromise where we still have an event where they're in person, maybe at the Pillars if it's, I don't know if that's possible, or in the auditorium? And maybe just don't invite the presenters. That would eliminate a lot of people. I don't think presenters would be that offended by that.
Some of them could do a video, because some of the presenters, they do want to talk about their scholarship, and
Yeah.
they could do a personal message by video.
Oh, right, sure.
Everybody
But
knows
they could
how to
be there in video. Yeah, that's it.
What if it was more, do you know how many students we had, the number of students last year?
I do not.
I know the number financially was huge. I don't remember, I think it was more than.
And I guess, Susan, if you can speak to what was, when we say virtual, because there's a lot of, the way we did virtual last year, I'm not even sure if that's what scholarship means for this. Can you talk a little bit of what the team thought of when you talked about doing a virtual scholarship night?
Well, part of what went into it is also the presenters themselves not feeling comfortable to come. So we had to balance that with the presenters. But then also looking at that, it was more of a virtual event for the community, not necessarily a virtual event for the students, because I hear the concern that it would be nice to have the students together in the auditorium where we can then indicate their scholarships and those kind of things. So those are some good ideas that we can take back and put to the planning. The more virtual is just that it was going to be released virtual to the broader community that night. So thank you for the input as we worked again to try to provide all of these wonderful experiences within the context that we have to work with. So that's what we're working on right now.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is something that's more in person for our kids would be something more favorable if we come back and talk about what this looks like at the next board meeting, because next will be April. Is that
Well, I
something?
think it's a school team that's working on planning this.
Okay.
And I think it's important to leave it there, but I definitely hear the input, and that will be definitely part of the planning.
Tell them to think bigger.
Well, meaningful for the students, but it's also meaningful for the parents if they're able to attend like they are at some of the other events.
Okay.
To consider that.
Okay. So maybe by next month we'll have a little bit better idea of what it's gonna look like, I'm thinking. And this input will be taken into consideration. And are there students on the team, Susan, on the team that, because I know it's not one person putting this together, it's a team of individuals trying to figure out how we get through this. It's our class advisors. Because I know with prom, there was a lot of student input. Can you speak a little bit to how student input was for some of these?
So definitely for like graduation, we've been surveying the students. That's been Olivia McDonald and Wendy Hoffman taking the lead. So we've been getting all their input on how we want to proceed. And I think with the scholarship night, right now it's a team of teachers that are working on planning that. However, gaining some student input is not a bad idea. However, we also have to balance it, what is appropriate to do as well as what we definitely would love to see. I mean, we would love to be full back 100% back to normal, but right now we currently aren't. So we're trying really hard to plan a really good and memorable event. And so we definitely can do that.
I think in fairness, if we compare that to the senior play where we're looking at 30 to 40% capacity, are we generally talking the same numbers? So if we can accommodate for one, somehow we should be able to accommodate for the other.
Okay. Any other comments about the spring events?
How many people are on the committee right now? You know?
Every one of these have different committee, which one you want, just scholarship?
No,
or-
I was just curious if there's like one consensus committee, you know, looking at these, or?
I think you have so many different areas here. It's different between band and choir, senior play, you know, trying to go from there. So this isn't a one committee for one. It's whoever the impacted individuals are would be part of the committee.
So as a district, we don't have a standard then?
What's that?
So as a district, we don't have a standard for these type of events, it's all up to the individual committees to steer?
I would say these standards hit pretty close to what our standards have been to get us to here. So, you know, there's nothing here that falls way out of line of what we've been doing for the last year, over a year. So-
I'm hearing that you might have some, can you tell us what you don't like? Can you be a little more
A
specific?
lot of it.
Well, right, I mean,
don't
that's
like
what you
a lot
said,
of
can
it's
you
not in
just,
person, and,
you know,
you know, I think there's just, it's inconsistent, you know, from that standpoint, when I look at it, and I think our kids deserve more.
so
So I mean,
if,
if there is rope to give, we should give as much as we can to,
Keep going with that. I like what you're
Right.
saying.
you know, to allow these kids to have some normalcy as they're winding up their, you know, their high school careers and looking to, you know, go to the next level here, so.
So there's
That's-
only one event that isn't in person. Everything else is in person.
but you're like, pick something else besides scholarship night, and tell me what you would change. Tell me what you would like to see with what we're trying to
Well,
do.
I'd say graduation, I would like
Okay.
to see more than just parents attending that. I
Okay.
think there are other family members that would like to go, whether they be siblings or
Yeah,
aunts and uncles, grandpa and grandmas, you know, I think.
An older
I've seen
population
events where
has-
there's a lot more people than just the two, you know, parents there, where there's a lot of people in. I've been, you know, to a couple of those as well, and, you know, I think we all followed the safety mandates to ensure that we could do that, and so, I mean, it's just things like that that I'd like to see. I don't know much about the junior prom. I know last year it was parent-led, it was off-site. I think everybody had a fun, safe time. I'm not really sure what the whole, you know, things are here, but I've heard there's, again, like, no court, kind of where are we holding it, you know, that type of thing, so.
And the older population has all had access to the vaccine now, and continues to have access, and by May, most of them will have, you know, the vaccine if they want it, right? I mean, it's been rolled out for a while now, I mean, people are coming in nursing homes.
And
Yeah.
one of the
You
things
know,
I
I
did
mean-
say when we started this is as of today, March
Yeah.
15th. And this will be something that we will look at again in April, and we will look again in May. So, you know, and I said this to Gina, it's a lot easier to make it less restrictive than to go back the other way. So, you know, it kind of goes back to the old teacher adage, you don't let them see a smile till October. Try to keep it tight, and then you loosen it up as we're there. You know, the one update is we thought we were pretty much over this, and then last week I spent pretty much 3 days contact tracing and you know, having a big segment of our population be positive and have positive contacts. So I'm hoping that was the last little fight of this, and we go on. But as we look at it in March, this makes a lot of sense. But this is a process, and I think the one thing this board has done is we've had these conversations, and we've always found where we need to be as we get into that next month. That's why going into April here after spring break, we have, you know, it's full go. We don't have any more virtual Fridays, AR Fridays. As we get into April, we'll look at these again.
So would it be fair to say for graduation, if things are looking better and it is getting closer to graduation and we find out that the weather is permitting and numbers are good and we don't have these concerns, that maybe we'll get outside and we can open it up to a lot more family members, whether it's chairs
Right now,
around
if I
the
can
track?
answer, if I can speak to that, so the survey that we had the kids take was if right now, working off of the information that we know today, that we're still under parents only if we had an indoor event, which is right now the Big East Conference is all a part of that as well. Would you prefer to hold an indoor event or weather permitting to hold an outdoor event, whereas such that we could open it up to more family members that would be able to be in attendance given that we are outside? The kids have voted that they would prefer, if possible, to hold an outdoor event where we could open it up to more family members. So yes, that is right now what we're planning and hoping for. Now, as Mike had said, keep in mind, we're working under also with the Big East Conference, and so those could change each month. We meet each month to talk about what are the changes in our county as well as statewide with those recommendations and what other schools are doing, so that way we can grow with each other. So this isn't certainly a closed book, it's just a starting point.
So what the board is saying, or what I'm hearing, is push it, push it, push it.
To follow up,
Push
I
it some
think
more.
we all
Yep.
look at
That we're gonna back the most liberal.
For this item only, please.
Not political. For the calendar of events that, you know, get as many people here, and we will back that. And if, you know, if we have to step on a toe here or there, that's what we want to do. That's what I heard.
We want to be able to celebrate our kids'
Yeah.
achievements and with them.
So
We did a wonderful job.
take that back
last
to your
year.
teams and push, I guess, is pretty much what we're saying. I don't know how else to.
And we'll bring this back every month, so that way we can
Okay.
look at current conditions. And I get what you're saying. I guess I'm uncomfortable with saying it's wide open and then having to close it for another
Right.
reason. I'd rather just slowly open it and make sure. And as we talk about April, we'll talk about May events. As we get to May, we'll talk about June events. And you know what? I hope the weather's fine and we can have the football field full of people. You know, those are the things we want to see. But this was, I think this was the best going forward, to show people we are committed to each of these events.
We will at least do this,
Exactly.
is what you're saying,
That's what I'm saying.
but we want more.
Right. And we all want more,
Okay.
so.
All right, I think
One
that's,
more thing, Big East Conference, you just mentioned it, so is there any, like, talk of opening the spring sports, like attendance a little bit more? Because that's not on this list or whatever, but.
So, and that's part of this also is and Matt, you brought up a good point, because I'm a little frustrated with the WIA. We get these guidelines on how we're supposed to run, so we're the bad guys, making sure that we have 2 parents in for all sports, and then the tournament comes and they can throw 500 people into a gym. That's
It's talking on both sides of your mouth.
exactly. And then you know who gets stuck in the middle? We're stuck in the middle, because we're trying to navigate this the best possible. So, Susan, I haven't been in the Big East for spring sports. Hey, where do you think the conference is, as far as, especially with all our sports being outside? Before I go there, I can say, we let the Booster Club know already that concession stands will be open. Please follow the, you know, cleaning and some of the other situations that we need to. And we can start selling concessions. Where are we for audience and participation?
So right now, they've been talking about that, so the Big East principals as well as the athletic directors, and they're looking at opening it more up, but what that looks like, not sure, because these sports in general tend to be our lower attended sports as compared to our football and basketball games. So right now, it's still, they're still in discussion, but it looks like it may be a little more flexible, but it's not like wide open at this point too, because we still need to maintain some physical distancing guidelines.
And, you know, it's going to be, one of the challenges we're going to have is like softball games at Bertrand Park. It's, you know, if you can stay socially distanced away from everybody and be in a place, we don't even collect fees. So some of that is, when we're outside, we have to be really logical and make sense. if you're more than 6 feet away from everybody and we can not put people on the bleachers, we're gonna use common sense, just like we
Yeah.
have every step of this, so.
Well, and they tend to be sports where people bring their chairs and spread out.
So we'll keep it comfortable and safe.
Did you hear anything about spring football, how they're handling that, by chance?
I have not, I
I'm
don't know.
just curious.
Anything about what?
Spring football, some of the schools that have spring football, how they're handling.
Well, that's why we had a delay between our last winter sports ending before our spring sports start up. So our spring sports aren't even starting up until later because we had to have the season for the spring season for any of those teams that opted to not have football during the fall, and they're having it now. So that's why we got a little bit longer lull between the next sport picking up.
But did you hear how they're doing audience? Did you have I haven't heard anything if it's just parents or 2 or 4 per athlete.
I have not heard because I think part of that is based on their counties because they're so spread all over the state. So I'm not sure. I think it's based on their counties and their conferences.
Okay.
Is all I've heard.
So they have a saying, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. I bring it up because if we push the limits, what's the penalty to us with the Big East Conference and the WRA? If we decide, you know what, we want to be trendsetters here, we want to get this thing opened up a little bit, so we're going to accept more people here. What's the potential fallback to us or the punishment to us?
You know, I think we've done a good job in our conference and our county to try to compromise and be in this together. So if we go into the meeting with the other schools and say, hey, this is what we want, and then all the other schools say, this is what we're doing, and then we go above and beyond, it just breaks trust and breaks, you know, and you know, I would say as in the meetings, as we're getting out of this, more people would be in a boat of let's open more things up. But if the conference says, let's do it this way, there's no conference policeman that's gonna come and put handcuffs on you. But are you gonna have trust if you can't do what everyone else in your conference is trying to do? So there's a balance.
Can you go to the next conference meeting and say that you would propose that anybody can show that they've been vaccinated twice, and if you have enough room and they come with a mask on, to stay 6 feet away from everybody else, that they don't count against the numbers of people that are in the room?
There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You know, but you're negotiating with 12 other institutions, some private, some public, and have you ever been in those meetings and you actually heard cats?
Yeah,
I'd rather
it's
heard
an easy one to
cats.
argue though.
So, yes.
If they can't transmit the virus, then they shouldn't count against. Yeah,
Right.
you pick it up and you can move it, but that means it's already there.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see what happens next month.
Okay.
All right,
And the last one, I just want to say thank you to all of you. Last week Friday, our staff got your letter from the overload pay. Thank you very much. The level of appreciation they felt. Just thank you. That was fantastic. It was one of the coolest events I was able to be part of, to show all of our staff how much we appreciate what they're doing. So thank
I
you
got
very
some
much.
feedback from a parent that I'm willing to share.
Oh, I'd love to,
Or
please.
a parent that is a teacher. Feedback was the reception that she felt and all of her other coworkers it was above and beyond what they expected. There was no expectation going into that at all that was what we were going to do for them. The other thing they said that what showed that we actually really do care, do think about them, is the hand signing of all of those, because that obviously wasn't just a single sheet of paper. They said that little act really drove home. It really said a lot, and that and on top of what we did was just above and beyond. So they were elated.
Thank you for sharing that. That's pretty much what I got spot on from everyone.
I had four different teachers reach out to me,
Nice. That's awesome.
and they all said the same thing.
And you were able to experience that? Were you here?
Yeah, actually, it worked out. I kind of came for alternative purposes, but it worked out well. I
Great.
was glad to be here, and I did say a few things on behalf of the board. I hope that was okay.
Oh, man.
But then we,
Now we're done.
and we appreciated their work, and well, Mike explained it quite well, but I just, yeah, we were very proud of what they did and appreciate what they've done.
Great, well, thank you. Glad you were able to be here.
I got to be time.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. All right, good news, good news. We like that. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Next is we have a board action, a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to, and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation promissory notes dated March 3rd, 2015. Is there a motion? We talked about this.
So moved.
Matt, is there a second?
Second.
Chuck, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Amy, second reading, revised and new policies. Which one is this? New policies resulting from the Neola update. So this is the updates?
Yes,
All right, so
lots of them, many, many pages.
you're making a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve the policy changes from Neola.
Okay, is there a second? Jennifer, any questions or discussion? We had first reading last month on this. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a notification of new staff, hourly staff, David, is that Pfeiffer?
Piper, yep.
Professional assistant for all levels, and a salaried staff, Todd Tross, community resource officer. So that's good news.
Very good news.
He
Yes.
started already?
Yes, Officer Tross started 2 weeks ago. It was Detective Tross before he retired, 28 years with Sheboygan County Sheriff's Department. And in his first 2 weeks has come in and used his relationships with being in the county that long to help our kids, help our staff. It's taken us a while to get here, and today when we want to do an article, let's do an article because Officer Tross is excited to be here. He has a squad car all ready for him, so let's just thank Ryan and all his work to really get Officer Tross ready for this.
Yeah,
but,
that's great that he can walk in and
he's
be
walking
ready to
into
go.
a pretty cool job, and in our conversations, and I don't know if you want to share anything, Chuck, with your conversations with Todd, he's just excited to be here and happy to see his law enforcement on a different side than what he's been on. So I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
Just that I had a nice conversation with him. I had not known him. I wasn't part of the interviewing. And I feel very comfortable with what he's done, what he knows, and the situation the school district is in now with him being here. I feel very comfortable with that.
Great. Great. Good news again.
He doesn't have a dog. Maybe we can talk him into getting a puppy. We'll see one.
Next, we have a notification of paid co-curricular coaches and advisors for 2021. Do we have any new ones? These all look pretty familiar.
I think most of them are, yeah, all.
Okay, great. And then we have volunteers for high school softball and track. Again, those are not new names, which is great to see that we have people returning. Appointment of delegate to the WIA annual meeting. Generally, it's been Mr. DeBrew as the activities director. Is there a motion to continue that? To appoint Jim? Jennifer, is there a second?
I'll second.
Rainey?
Does he like going? I don't know.
It's kind of one of his duties. Is
Okay, all right, yeah.
you just don't want volunteering for somebody who doesn't want.
No voluntold. He said he would do it. I asked him. Okay, he's all good with that, all right. We'll let it at that.
Are there any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And informational items.
Okay, just a couple quick ones here. First of all, legislative updates. The budget battle is on. If you watch any of this, I think it's going to be very interesting. We're in another biennium, so I'm hoping we know what our budget looks like before July. I did say 2 years ago I thought it wouldn't be till fall, and they actually got the stuff together. So I'm at least a little apprehensive there. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. I'm looking. I'm thinking they may get us done before July 1st, but we'll see what happens. Just wanted to give the group update. One of the things that we have done in your package, you have your calendars, and one of the reasons that have been holding up the calendar a little bit is, as we know, in the high school, there's been a lot of success, a reduction in failures, and one of the things that we were forced to do is go to a true block this year, just to make sure that there wasn't cross-contamination, all those other things. Well, because of that, and still not knowing what next fall is going to look like for sure, we're going to continue with that true block, and you're going to see in our calendar, we're going to have, because it's so important to make sure our days are equal, we need to make sure first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter are, right around those 42, 43 days. Otherwise, one class will have more days than the other. Our quarters next year, the next year or two will end on a Tuesday, and then the next quarter starts on a Wednesday. So it's a little bit different. It's not a real big deal. But it's making sure that we have true uniform instruction in all areas. As far as the elementary, middle school, doesn't impact them at all because they'll still be on the semester grading block. So there's been really good discussions on that, and I look forward to seeing what we're going to do in the future for that. But for right now, it just seemed to make sense to keep going there. And then I did want to say that the community recreation coordinator search, we currently have 6 applicants, some really good applicants. So it is going to be open through the end of our next board meeting, so through that mid-April. So we have about another month of this being open, and we'll be looking at doing interviews for that first week of May. So
Great.
With that, any questions?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Chuck, and second? Jennifer, was that you? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
Fastest meeting so far.